Quite often when I meet new people or my guests, and that one of their questions always is you know, how did you ever get started in business? I started in the early '80s, actually fur trapping. Prior to that, I was just a young teenager, and I didn't want to have much to do with what my dad did, so me and my cousin, we took off out west one time, and we were going to go make our fortune out there and live out west somewhere. So we went out there, and we lasted for about 2.5, 3 months on the road. We come back flat broke with, I think we had like 50 cents between us. Got home, I had no direction, and my dad said, well, I got a section of trap line, and I got a few old traps that you can have, and maybe you can go and catch something and get a start. And I thought, oh boy, the area happened to be up by Ord Lake, and I think it was 6 traps he gave me. And my dad was a full-time fur trapper, one of the largest in the area. So I started with those 6 traps, and I started catching animals and selling the fur and making some money. And next thing you know, I thought, wow, this is something that I can do and I can make a living at. Ended up building a cabin back by Ord Lake there, so I could stay back there and save on all the travel right on my trap line. So I met my wife Carla then, and a couple of years later at Keystone Lodge. One of my first customers was her dad at Keystone. So I met her while I was delivering minnows there, and I got to know her.
What was it like to grow up at Keystone?
It was fantastic. So I was a teenager here growing up, and it was, well, just like you guys have new friends coming and going every week. That's what it was like for me, but I was a little bit older than you are now. So it was a lot of fun. We used to go water skiing pretty much every day. We'd go water skiing or fishing all the time.
Water skiing?
I loved water skiing. My siblings and I and our friends water skied almost every day.
What year was it that you guys met?
Well, we met in the early 1980s. I don't remember the exact year, but it was right here at Keystone Lodge. Wayne was just starting in his minnow business, and he came out here to solicit my dad's business at his camp here. So my dad was actually his very first minnow customer way back then.
When we started out in the bait business, we only had a few lakes. Literally, like my dad let me trap, I think, like 6 minnow lakes. After about 3 years, I went about as far as I'm going to get on those 6 lakes. They were getting fish down, and I wasn't going anywhere. I could never expand with just such a little bit of area. It was only a half a block. So the business in Vermilion Bay came up for sale there on the corner, which is now Bobby's Sports Shop there. And the guy had quite a few minnow blocks. And so I wanted those blocks so bad. I knew if I could get those blocks, I could really get a start. I went into the bank in Dryden, the one that we dealt with for years, and I went to that bank, and I literally owned nothing. I had a truck and an old ATV, and I had just payments on my truck. I had nothing, no money of any kind. So I went there, I talked to them, and it was pretty much a flat nose. So then I went across to the next bank, and I might as well give it a shot. So I went in there and I asked to see the manager. So I got to go sit down in the manager's office, and I'm in my early 20s. And so he said, "How can I help you?" I said, "Well, I'm in the bait business in a small way right now, and if I could buy this business that's available right now, I know that I could make." I think I told him, I think I can make $100,000 in the first year. And he sat up in his chair and he looked at me and he says, "Wow," he says, "you know what? We should all buy a minnow business." I seen right away I wasn't going to get no help from this guy. So I was just getting up, ready to leave, and a guy from behind me, standing in the doorway, he said, "I'll talk to you for a little bit if you got time." And apparently the manager was just getting ready to retire, and the guy that was standing behind me, he was a new guy taking over. So anyway, I went in his office and I talked to him, and he must have seen something in me. I don't know what it was, but he said, yeah, he said, you could do this much, and I said, yeah, I could, yeah, I could do that, no problem at all. And he said, well, you don't have not much for a down payment or anything. I said, no, I don't have much for a down payment. So he said, you know what, if you could do this, and if you could, this was in the springtime, if you could make enough money to put a big chunk down this same summer that you want to buy it, he says, maybe we can make this work. This guy took me under his wing, this banker, and he made it work, and somehow I ended up getting the money to buy that place. It's a pretty cool thing to happen, and that was our big break right there. And then we bought a camp on the Indian Chain on Edward Lake. It was called Hall's Camp. We bought that, and we needed an air base for our airplane. So my first airplane was an ultralight that I started with, and I managed to survive a couple hundred hours in that, but it wasn't really a practical airplane, and I ended up crashing a couple times. And the last time I did, my wife Carla said, no more of that business. If you want to keep flying, you're going to have to get your license and get a real airplane. So myself and her dad went to Winnipeg, and we spent a month there and got our private pilot's license. Came back, and I got myself a J3, and I started using the J3 for the minnows, and that helped me out a lot. With that, I was able to get around quick and expand really quickly the business. Just the second year into it, with flying the J3 there, my engine on it developed a crack in the crankcase, and I just bad luck, and I needed a new engine. So we had just bought that camp, and we were really strapped for money. We didn't have much of anything, and I couldn't afford much, and we were just working our butts off. And so I called up a buddy of mine, and I asked him if he'd be interested in buying my trap line for $22,000. It was a real sad choice I had to make, because I didn't want to ever get rid of that trap line, but I had no choice at the time. We needed a new engine for our plane. So my cabin that I built at Ord Lake, where I lived for many years, Carla and I've actually never been back there one time, because it's just too much sentimental ties to it. So I fly over it though periodically and look down at it.
We're in search of our old trapper's cabin on Ord Lake. We spent many years there in the winter fur trapping. So yeah, it's going to be pretty nostalgic for me. I have not been down here since we sold our trap line many years ago. I can't even remember what year it was.
Definitely a cabin.
Is this it?
Yep.
This is so crazy.
So I didn't really know how I'd feel. I was a little bit surprised that I got as emotional as I did, but it was all right. It felt like it was just yesterday we were there, but at the same time it felt like a long time ago.
Whoa. We spent a lot of time here. Does it look the same?
Mm-hmm. I remember sleeping on the top bunk and we get cooked out. Oh my God. The stove would get it so hot in here.
We had literally not a care in the world. All we needed was enough money to put gas in our truck and a case of beer and firewood, and we were golden. It was a pretty simple life back then, so it was a nice bittersweet moment to be there.
So with the fur trapping there, we still got my dad's trap line, and which I'm taking over, and so it's very important for me to be able to show the new generation all about trapping and experience our heritage. And it gives them an idea of the work we had to do to get where we are today. And So we got my daughter involved, and we got Randy involved, and we got Jeremy involved, and Zach involved. So we got them all to take the trappers course last winter. So they're all on our trap line now. So we can. So now I get the enjoyment of showing everybody what I know and what Grandpa knows.
So that's the muskrat traps, and these are the marten traps here. This is the 330. This is the one that's meant for beaver, this one here. This is a 220 here. It's used mostly for otter. This is a wolf snare here, and it has a positive lock on here. These are muskrat stretchers here, these wire frames. Yeah. Those are all animal stretchers. Some are fox, marten, you name it. When I started out, it was in Nova Scotia, trapping muskrats, and an uncle of mine had bought me a small muskrat trap. I don't know if he done it for a joke or what, but anyway, he bought me this small muskrat trap. And I used to go down, we lived by a lake, and I used to go down, set the trap on a log, and I would stay up all night long listening, because you could hear the splash in the water when one got in the trap. So I would go down and I would empty the trap and reset it again. And over the period of a night, I would probably get 4 or 5 muskrats. And with the proceeds from those, I was able to buy more traps. But that's how I got started.
Wow.
Yeah, with one trap. Yeah. And the animal comes through here and he hits the trigger like that. So that's a very effective trap and a very humane trap. And that's the way they come out now with all the conibears, this type of trap with the instant kill. And they all have heavy duty springs on them here, so that when they close up tight and positive. So there is no suffering to any animal that way.
What's the most common animal that you would trap for?
Beaver, yeah. Because for beaver, we have to take a quota every year. So all these measures you have to keep monitoring on your specific trap line area to make sure that each animal is kept in balance for its own survival. And it's a responsibility, but if you're a good trapper, you can do it.
My great-grandfather, my grandma's dad, came from Finland in 1928. He cleared 20 acres of land in Quibel, which was then deeded to him. And they developed it into a farm. That's where my grandmother was born and raised. That's also where my dad was born and raised, and that's where my grandparents live today. And that's where they started their minnow business out of and their fur trapping. They had a little minnow stand there where people came and picked up their bait. And the way my grandparents met is that my grandma was working at the mill, the Dryden Mill, at 16 years old. And my grandpa was selling work boots and safety shoes. And so they met in Dryden and moved out to the homestead, and that's where they still are today. As a kid, I spent almost every weekend with my grandparents. And I used to work alongside Grandpa in the shop, and he would skin the animals, and I would help him clean the hides and stretch the furs. And then just this past winter, he actually did a little course. He trained me and Zach, and Jeremy and Randy on how to properly skin a beaver. And then we went and did our trapping course in Dryden. And so now we all have our trapping licenses, and there's no money in fur harvesting anymore. You know, we're not gonna go out and make a living on it, but it's important that we maintain the trap line. continue the traditions, you know, teach our kids and continue that lifestyle in whatever capacity we can.
Gord's got quite a large trap line, and to me it's just something that's always interested me. Being an avid fisher and hunter, it's something I've always loved doing and kind of always interested in. And when the opportunity came, I was all for it. So we went and did the trappers course. There's a few of us, Megan and Jeremy and Zach, and we all did the trappers course and became helpers on Gordon's trapline. Last fall, he actually brought us all in and taught us all how to skin a beaver, and then actually using skinning the beaver using a femur bone of a moose, and that was pretty neat. First time I've ever seen that and done that. And then also did a couple otters and that kind of stuff, and it's pretty neat. And there's a lot of those old timers like that. You learn a lot of tricks that you never would have thought of on your own. That there's a lot of quicker and easier ways, and it's pretty neat to see. Living that trapper lifestyle, just you're always active, and well, Gordon's a prime example. He's 90, going on 93 years old, and he's still doing it all. My son loves it. So he already, last winter we got a couple beavers, and he put in his request for this year. He wants because Gordon tanned a beaver that I'd skinned, and he tanned it and put it on a willow ring for me, and gave it to us there. And so the boy, my son, of course, he wanted that above his bed, so he got that above his bed. And as soon as we got that above his bed, it was Daddy. He's like, I want a lynx for this wall now, and I want a wolf for my blanket. So that's another one of the reasons there, just getting him outside and getting him part of that, and just having him growing up doing that and learning the outdoors, and just to sit in front of a TV or playing video games. It's something that I think kids and everybody should do, just getting outside and just experiencing life and experiencing the outdoors.
We got all this firewood for us.
Oh, you got it, but it's going to hit you in the head. For me, it was an exceptionally good life. I'm getting on in years now, of course, but life has treated me very well, and I think being outside in the fresh air and being close to nature has helped me.
The true value of the fur trapping or the minnows, it's not something that's necessarily going to make you a rich person. And I never think about money, to tell you the truth. I just think about getting the job done. But the true value of doing what we do is I think just maintaining your health. I think it's the most important thing there is. You have to have a little bit of luck too, I know, but with manual activity like this we've done all our lives, it just really helps you keep going. It's unfortunate that one lifetime, when you start from scratch, is it's hardly long enough to do the things you want to do. By the time you get everything in place, you get to be my age, and you start to be achy here and there, and you just hope you can enjoy it now for a few more years. I know Megan thinks I'll still be trapping minnows for 30 more years, but I'm not too sure. But that would put me close to 100. So I don't know if I'll be doing that, but I'll give it a try anyway. Yeah, I think it's always been the most important thing to me is to always remember how you got started in life, the people that helped you out, and know where you came from.